Kakalaki is what we call it. I'm from North Carolina, so we're gonna go to North Carolina. Miss Christal Carmichael.
Hey everybody, how are you? Thank you so much for joining tonight. First, definitely want to give a shout out to Coach Sheila, who has been an amazing leader for this wonderful group of leaders. But just to introduce myself, I'm Christal Carmichael. I am a licensed clinical psychotherapist and a private practice coach. I help mental health professionals start and scale their private practice to 6 figures within a year. So not only am I the founder of a mental health clinic and of Crystal Clear Worldwide, but I'm also a mother and a wife and a passionate advocate for mental health. So today I just want to share a little bit of my story. It's not just a story of, why I'm passionate about mental health, but also why I have been able to defy the odds and break stereotypes and harmonize my dreams with my reality. So just a little bit of that story tonight. First of all, I have a degree in psychology, a master's degree in clinical psychology. And one of the things that I was told when I was getting my education was you have to have a PhD in order to make any money in this industry. Well, I first of all was not really interested in the money. That's not the thing that interested me about the industry. I really was more interested in impact. But to tell someone that who was just starting in this field was a little bit discouraging, because not only did I want to have impact within my community, within my family, in my city, I really did want to make a nice living for myself and my family. So that was a little bit discouraging. However, I kept going, and I knew that while the education was extremely valuable, I knew that my passion and my experience and my dedication were equally as important. So I chose to choose me, right? Invest in me. I know so many times we are waiting for people to choose us, for people to validate us, for people to encourage us. And sometimes you really just have to do that for yourself. So that was one of the things that I chose for myself, to invest in myself, to trust my capabilities, and to forge my own path, not just for a title or for, the PhD or for the status, but to really have a true impact. So I've been a business owner. I've had my own private practice for over a decade, but it was not at all easy. And throughout that journey, I got married and I started to have children. And I remember so distinctly that there were people telling me, well, either you're going to be a wife and a mother, or you can be an entrepreneur. And I've always been one to forge my own path, but that was a little bit too much of a difficult decision to have to make, because again, I had dreams that I wanted to pursue, but I did not want to neglect my own passion for mental health. But I also wanted to start my own family, to have my own family, and to be able to be there for every important moment throughout their development, throughout, for me in my marriage, as well as for my children. So being told that, you can't be a successful business owner as you're starting your family was quite a bit discouraging. And so I did have a little bit of fear and a little bit of doubt. But then I realized that it wasn't just about making a decision between a successful career and choosing my family. It was really about creating a balance, the balance that I wanted. And so that caused me to kind of redefine my definition of success. So that's when I kind of just went ahead and decided that I was going to forego the societal expectations of either having to choose between being a mother and a wife or being a business owner, having to choose between getting my PhD and waiting 10, 15 years to start my private practice versus getting started right now while I have the passion and while it's fresh and while I'm able to do it. And so the choices that I made weren't choices to dictate things that I had to go without. They were choices that I made to create my own version of success. So building my practice was not easy, but it wasn't just about establishing a practice. It was about creating a haven, a safe place for transformative mental health practices. Now, we know that our community is the least likely to seek out mental health services. And then when we do seek out mental health services, we're the most likely to be misdiagnosed, the least likely to seek services, the most likely to be misdiagnosed. All the reasons why it's very difficult for us to eliminate the stigma of mental health within our community. So, with my humble beginnings, I just went ahead and said, this is something that I'm passionate about. I'm going to go ahead and do it. I started with an extremely small, tiny little office in a lawyer's office that I really didn't know what the outcome was going to be. And I just started seeing individual clients. As before I actually started seeing individual clients, when I started my practice, I hadn't even gotten my license yet. Most people don't know that you can start your private practice without being licensed. So when I started my practice, I myself wasn't licensed, but I hired individuals that were. So I had the business sense to go ahead and get started to create the atmosphere to start to see some of those effective practices put in place. I had the leadership skills to lead the therapists that were already licensed, but I myself was not licensed yet. So I leveraged my business sense to hire those people. And throughout that time when I was running my practice and overseeing the therapists that were licensed, I was then also getting my clinical hours so that I could work towards my own license. And I did that because, one, I didn't have to provide the service. I could have been just the business owner overseeing the services, but I knew I still wanted to have that individual impact as a psychotherapist. So I pursued my license as I was running the business, as I was leading other therapists, creating that space for mental health, for transformation. So that took a lot of trial and error. It took a lot of mistakes. It took a lot of time wasted, money wasted, but it was all worth it, because before I could even really get my feet wet being licensed, my agency was one of the most well known in the Carolinas. I was getting more referrals than I really could handle. And so it was so much worth. It was so well worth the sacrifice that I had to make to drown out the voices that were telling me that I had to choose this or that. I had to be a wife and a mother or a business owner. I had to make sure I got my PhD before even starting my practice, because I knew that there were people that were waiting for someone that looked like me to be able to reach out and access effective mental health services. So as I navigated my journey as a business owner, my roles as a mother and a wife, they weren't just parallel paths, but they were integral paths for my story, balancing all the things that come with having small children, client sessions, family dinners, family vacations. I had to learn the art of time management, the power of setting priorities. And so when I think about who I want to help now, it's not just individuals who struggle with mental health challenges, but it's also mothers and wives that struggle, who want to start a business, particularly in the mental health field, but also need to understand that it can be done while you are a mother, while you are a wife, or whatever other role you play. You don't have to sacrifice one for the other. You can do both. You can have it all, and you can balance it all and still maintain your own mental health. So that's not something that was really emphasized when I started my journey. And so that's the person that I want to be for other people, the one that I didn't have when I was starting. So I learned so much throughout the journey. I learned a lot. I made a lot of mistakes. I wasted a lot of time and money, but I know there was a reason for that. And I did that to sacrifice for the people that are coming behind me that want to know how to do it, so I could teach them how to do it without making the same mistakes that I did. So I say all that to say every challenge was a lesson. Every challenge was an opportunity. I learned so much about myself and my own strength and my own resilience. I learned the beauty of compromise, the impact that you can have just simply by having empathy for people. My journey taught me about what real success is. And it's not just about how much money you can make. because you can make a whole lot of money in this industry, but it's about the impact that you can have within your community, the people's lives that you can see right before your eyes transform because of something you said, because of something you did. That is the true definition of real success for me. And being able to do that while being present for your family, that's everything. That's everything. So I did manage to build a private practice. I did manage to scale it to a place where we could live comfortably. And I was able to be there for each of my children every step of the way. So I'm gonna just give you one quick example, because that whole idea that you have to do one or the other, if you let that sit and fester, it will really destroy your dreams. So when I first became a mother, my oldest daughter, who's 10 now, I was terrified of taking my little baby and putting her in a daycare. And so I just didn't want to do it. I mean, it's not to say that daycares are bad, but as a new mother, I just didn't know what to expect, and I didn't want to do it. And I knew that I had a business to run. So as my business was growing, it outgrew that tiny little space that I had in the attorney's office. So I ended up leasing the whole top floor of a building, and I turned one of those office spaces into a nursery. And I hired a private nanny to come in to be with my daughter for the first 3 years. And that eliminated so much stress for me. And I would not have been able to do that at a 9-to-5 job. I would not have been able to do that if I did not pursue my own dreams. And so I was able to nurse my daughter when I needed to. I was able to take breaks. I was able to do all the things I needed to do because she was right there. And that was also an example for the other staff that I hired as young mothers, that they could have it all. They could have the career, they could have the family, they could have the relationships, and they can still be impactful. You don't have to sacrifice one for the other. So in conclusion, I just want to leave you with this one thought. Our dreams and our responsibilities, they don't have to be at war with each other. Like, you can have passion, you can persevere, and with a little bit of planning, just a little bit of planning, all of those things can harmonize beautifully. So I just want to thank you for allowing me to share my journey with you. I hope that you find the melody in your own life's symphony. And so what I've decided to do with my story is to share it. And this is one of the things that Coach Sheila, this group, this 30 Days Live Challenge has allowed me to do, because I was so comfortable in my bubble, helping the people that I normally help. I wasn't gonna go live. I just wasn't. And so Sheila, who I had the pleasure of calling my friend, but has now also become my coach, has created this opportunity for me to share my story and help even more people. And so the other thing I've decided to do with my story is to challenge other women to come along this journey with me. And so I've started a few things. One being the Clinic Creator Intensive that will be starting on January 31st. And that is a coaching program that I walk you through the entire process to start your private practice and scale it to 6 figures within a year. So it starts on January 31st. And if you want an opportunity to participate in that, you can go to workwithcoachcristal.com and schedule a strategy session, or you can join our Facebook group. It is called Mental Health Moguls. And or you can just go to my website just to learn a little bit more about me. It's christalcarmichael.com. And there you can find a whole lot of information about who I am and what I do and what started this whole movement. But just want to say thank you. This has been amazing. If you're a woman like me that finds joy in motherhood and being married and have a passion for mental health, or you know someone that is just like me, that has a passion for mental health. Please share the information. I am so elated to be able to play this role and help facilitate change for our community, for our country, for this world, to help create spaces for transformative mental health, for effective mental health, so that we can begin to heal and do the real work that we were created to do. So thank you all so much for joining and listening. Thank you, Coach. Thank you to the entire group. Saini was my partner and she is amazing. So shout out to her. And I'm just excited because it's just the beginning.
Period. Yes, that's the beginning. Listen, you said you can have it all. Listen, did you ever see that person who said you couldn't? You had. See, I'm being petty. Did you ever see the person that said you couldn't open a private practice? You had to get your degree. What tell them? Like, look at me now. What? See, I would have been petty. See, that's why I'm not in that position. But congratulations to you for being resilient. Oh my gosh, I love the fact that you know, it wasn't like and or. You can either have a practice or have a family. You was like, no, it ain't no or. It's and I'm gonna make it work. And now I'm gonna help other people and show them how they can do it and scale over 6 figures in a short amount of time. Girl, hush, you was a bad mama jamma. I love it. Thank you for taking the challenge.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That is okay. January 31st. Sign up if you don't know. If you're, listen, tell somebody they need to sign up for this program and follow Christal Carmichael. Thank you for your story. It helps so many people, even the point where you said our population is less likely to seek the service, but most likely to be misdiagnosed. And the speaker before you, Carla Lewis, was basically an example of what you just said. She was misdiagnosed. So we have to really pour into our community and educate and show them how important it is to seek mental health and seek professional help as well. So thank you very much for all that you do and for sharing your story. I'm so excited. It's just the beginning. Let's go, people. Woo, woo, woo. All right, all right. So we have another speaker who is from the DMV. We have Mr. Paul McFarland. Come on to the stage. Let's go.
Blessings and salutations to the rebels and creators. That's my thing. That's how we go. My name is Paul McFarland. I born in DC, raised in the DMV in the Montgomery County, Silver Spring area, and I am now in Baltimore City. I got here. I was introduced to this challenge by my friend Jennifer Hogue. So we went to high school together. So she's also from the good DMV, and she thrust me into this thing, and I was like, you know what? Now I have to do it. I have to do it. I didn't want to let her down. So I made sure there were certainly days that I didn't feel like I had alive in me, but I went ahead and did it anyway. Because first of all, I already saw Miss Sheila calling people to the head of the class, so I didn't want that to be me. And then I didn't want to let Jennifer down either, so I didn't miss a beat, and I did go ahead and bang those out. So anyway, with my intro, you might have noticed the rebels and the creators thing. So I'm an artist. I'm a martial artist. So what is art? The good folks at Google, they tell us that art is the expression or the application of human creative skill and imagination. In terms of martial arts, Bruce Lee said that martial arts is honestly expressing yourself. So you can see that there's a sort of relationship there. As far as me as an individual, I'm the oldest of four. I was adopted, so I didn't actually know that until later, but we'll get to that part. And then what is rebellion? Rebellion is again, from the good folks at Google, an act of violence or open resistance to an established government or ruler. So I feel like I've always been a rebel by nature. The heroes that I gravitated to super early in life, Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility, and Luke Skywalker is literally leading a rebellion. Bruce Lee is defending the little guy. And then when I was about 5 or 6 years old, I stumbled upon a comic book of Harriet Tubman. And so, she's from Maryland too. So that instantly was sort of resonating. And then I hadn't seen, I mean, I'm talking 5 or 6 years old. I hadn't seen anybody. Um, the term gangster wasn't coined in 1980, but when I remember her leading folks, out of the South, and one of the gentlemen that was trailing behind her was like, "Look, I'm tired. I'm just going to go back," and she pulled the she pulled the revolver on him and like, "You're going to march forward, sir, or that's it for you." And it just blew my mind, the tenacity and the strength and just the iron will. And those are the kinds of people that just I really resonated with those kinds of people and those kinds of causes. So just me as an individual, again, I mean, matter of fact, Nat Turner was a little bit later in my life, but a huge hero of mine. And incidentally, Nat Turner's insurrection was August 21st, 1831, which fell on a Sunday. If you fast forward 144 years later, on August 21st, 1975, I was born, also on a Sunday. So whether there's a cosmic relevance there or it just is there in my mind in terms of being important to me, that theme of being a rebel, being somebody that goes against the grain, um, that's how I have been, and that's who I've always been. I mean, I never liked bullies. I some of the first physical altercations I have ever had in my life were with people that I perceived to be bullies. So um, I've always been a person that tries to stand on his ground in terms of stands up for his convictions and his beliefs. And I say all that to say, um, I am, like I said, a martial artist. I'm an artist. I'm an instructor and a personal trainer. I'm a full-time single dad. I was also adopted. So my first son, Sheer, was my first blood relative I've ever known in my life. So I think all of those things, the combination of the culmination of all of the things that I just told you guys, it really helps fuel my desire, my passion, as I like to try to help other people build confidence and strength and conditioning and a sense of accomplishment through their training. Um, Success breeds success. So among my experiences, I also went through about 10 years of physical, mental, emotional, and financial abuse and a lot of gaslighting. Um, that I'm telling you, there's a book there unto itself. What actually really helped ground me and act as an anchor through those 10 years and through all of that dysfunction was the self-belief and the self-assurance that was based in reality, was based on my own self-development and my personal accomplishments. Being an artist and being a martial artist, those are both kind of soloist pursuits. It's not necessarily a team endeavor. Um, so you're going through sort of these chapters in life of your development, and you're gaining confidence through your trial and error and through the accumulated information and skill development that you're putting the work in yourself. So it's difficult for someone to gaslight you and tell you what you aren't when you have proof based upon the work you've put in that you know who you are. So any of those moments where I feel like you are you're low and you're doubting, you can reflect upon your own success and your own accomplishments and your own triumphs and remind yourself who you actually are. So I like to do that exact thing when it comes to training other people. Success breeds success. So when you're talking about martial arts, certainly in our system, it's a belt progressive system. Um, your path is kind of laid out there for you. So as you notch up each level, you progress to another belt. The belts in of themselves, they're not magic. It's just a cloth that's dyed a specific color, but they are representative of all of the effort you've put in up to that point. Um, so during that 10-year journey that I was talking about, I I had what at best was like an epiphany, all right, and at very least, it was a realization and acknowledgement to myself of what my purpose actually is, and I kind of went back to some childhood experiences and doing some of that self inventory and reflection and whatnot, and I realized like my purpose in life, one of the integral parts of my being is to help free people and unlock their potential to create new masters of self. So there's a saying in martial arts that, your goal is not to be a master with a whole bunch of students. You want to create new masters. You want to create new teachers. And that's really kind of the hallmark of somebody that's doing what they're supposed to be doing. It's not supposed to be self-service in terms of your ego. And you can boast that you've got 500, 1,000 students. I mean, it's really more about the quality versus the quantity. I live in Baltimore City, like I've said at the beginning of this, and I see a lot of dysfunction here. The drug culture is crazy here. The violence is nuts. And I lived in DC when DC was really still DC, not necessarily the gentrified version that some of DC has become. And this is worse than that. Um, so my mission is to liberate young minds from limited self-opinions, limited worldviews and experiences, um, limited self-discovery. Yeah, the only way you're really going to discover yourself is through adversity. That's really the only way you're going to find it out. And I've certainly found that there are moments where it is sink or swim when you're in a ring by yourself. There's no team, there's no timeouts, there's no, you can't blame it on the quarterback, you can't blame it on the wide receiver, you can't blame it on anybody else. What's going on in there is just you. And I think putting young people, and I teach adults as well, but putting people through not just the martial arts components, but I also, like I said, I was a personal trainer as well. So helping people put in the work, because I'm just the Sherpa. I'm just leading you up the mountain. I'm not doing the work. You're doing the work. I'm simply here to guide you and give you some advice along the way. But putting people through those obstacles and watching them see themselves through. And again, you get the confidence not because of anything superficial. The confidence comes upon you actually grinding and reaching those levels, reaching those new plateaus. So, um, we all have that little voice in your head that tells you that you want to quit when you're tired or you're hurt or you're embarrassed or you're feeling inadequate. And my job is basically to shut that voice up for you. I want to help you tell them to be quiet. We all got it. It's all there. The more often that you cave to that voice, and I don't care whether, we've had folks on here today talking about the intermittent fasting. So stuff like even just dieting, whatever it is that you're trying to turn yourself into, there's always that little voice. Sometimes it's external voices, but we all have that moment of, you know, uh, telling ourselves maybe we shouldn't try so hard, maybe we should quit, maybe we should rest. Again, I'm here to tell that to be quiet. Um, Martial arts is about reaching established goals. It's about introspective thinking and building confidence, again, based on hard evidence that you yourself create. Like you are the one that's putting in the work. I tell my students all the time, give your future self a gift from the past. What you're doing now is a gift to future you. And that's applied to I don't care what age you are, as long as we're going to continue living, that is still applicable. You can give yourself a gift from the past with what you're doing right this second. And so that's stuff I really try to drill into the kids when we're teaching. Um, let's see. So I don't want to get too long-winded on y'all, but as we wind down, I would very much like to ask you to do me a favor. So on all the socials, Ring Dragon on Instagram, Ring Dragon Martial Arts on TikTok. I'm kind of new to the TikTok thing, but we're doing it. Ring Dragon TV on YouTube. They have a saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And so there may very well be a person who is looking for me, and of course I'm looking for them. Just through you liking and sharing and following and subscribing, it may not necessarily about you and I's relationship, but between that happening, you may actually help facilitate meeting somebody that I need to meet, somebody that needs to meet me. So I'd super duper appreciate it if you guys would do the follow and the subscribe and all that stuff. Again, we just never know through our networking who we're actually going to put in touch with one another. And that's the purpose of networking. Not sometimes it's indirect and not necessarily direct. So I would really appreciate that. The other thing is, uh, thanks to Miss Sheila, she lit a fire. So I am working on this podcast called Basement Tigers. It's the journey of life, love, and fatherhood. And I'm really looking to. I'm not here to bash the fellas, but there's a lot of podcasts from Black men that, in my personal opinion, focus on some of what I think are the wrong things. There's a lot of focus, and I hear a lot of vitriol and negativity focused towards women, specifically Black women, and I don't. That's not going to be what this is. I think if you focus on problems and not solutions, you're just going to continue to have problems. And so you have to start looking at what role are you playing in any of your relationships and any of the things that are not working or dysfunctional, rather than the blame game and pointing fingers and stuff. I just don't think as Black folks that does us a service. I don't think that serves our relationships. In fact, I think it creates more divide. And there's a lot of men who we're going to discuss things like byproducts of patriarchy. We're going to discuss things that that affect our sons. And I'm trying to break some of this cyclical nonsense. As 12 to 13% of the population, I don't think Black folks have the luxury to be divided. We have to be cohesive in our efforts, economically and mentally, physically, the whole deal. So I want to impart a more positive, what I believe is a more positive worldview when it comes to being a father and being a Black man in this country. And there's not going to be a whole lot of that negativity when we discuss relationships and things of that nature. But that's to come. So, just keep your eyes peeled on the socials, because I'll be spreading that stuff as soon as I'm ready to drop that. But I super duper appreciate the time. Miss Sheila, this program is way more than I thought it was going to be. Like I was joking with you, but I looked up, I'm like, oh my God, we got homework, we got midday, we got training. I think I was like 3-4 days in. I was like, oh my God, I'm behind. I didn't realize, I thought it was just the live thing. I was, so it's really been good for me. The holidays kind of took me out of my groove, and I almost didn't want to go to the holidays because I wanted to stay on what I'm doing here. But we'll be back on. I'm doing 3 days a week. I think Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm looking for like 9 a.m. So if you guys are around and you're online, check me out on my socials. I'll be there doing these Facebook Lives. Thank you so much for having me, you guys. This has been a wonderful experience. I'm looking forward to part 2 because I'm about to get busy. So we're going to make it happen. So keep checking for me, man. I really appreciate you guys.
Let's go. Let's go. Yes, we're going to make it happen. So you wasn't ready. You wasn't ready. We had homework, responsibilities.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'm so proud of you that you have your podcast coming up, Basement Tigers. Listen, it's going to resonate with so many other people, especially a single dad and raising children, and you raising boys, that next generation.
It's a lot.
And what you said about what you was talking about, the boys, what you're doing now is a gift to your future. A lot of people need to understand that it's going to affect them on down the road. And that's great advice. And when you know who you are, you can come back gaslighting. Whoa. Yeah, that was dope. That was dope. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, Mr. Paul. Listen, follow him, follow his podcast and his YouTube and everything else that's in the show notes. All right, now coming all the way from Philadelphia, USA. From Philly, we have Kimrenee Patterson coming to the stage.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Sheila. This has been a fabulous experience, one that has got my butt on fire. So I'm excited. I'm excited. I have learned so much and met so many beautiful people. So thank you so much for this opportunity. I want to say thank you to my AP, Simone Renee, and my mentor, I'm going to say her name correct tonight, Keandra. I want to thank you for your support and for your feedback and all of those things. So my name is Kimrenee Patterson, and I am your child care profitability coach. But not only am I that, I am a mom. I'm a mom of 2. I'm a mom of an adult with special needs. I'm an author, an educator, and I'm an ECEpreneur. And many people ask me, well, Kimrenee, what is an ECEpreneur? I am an early childhood educator, entrepreneur. And I am the driving force, y'all, behind Kimrenee education programs where we provide early childhood education and child care services through Early Foundations Learning Academy. I pretty much specialize in all things early childhood education and child care. I started out in 2017, but a few things kind of happened before I got there. I had a car accident that nearly took me out. but I didn't think it was going to take me out. So I wanted to take my daughter to the mall. Didn't happen that way. Then after I had the accident, I wound up taking, I had an underwire puncture in my breast, and I wound up getting a medication that caused me to have Steven Johnson syndrome. So I had burns completely all over my body. And while I had those burns, I still stood before a group of childcare providers providing professional development and training to them in pain. But I survived that. Later on, to realize that I had breast cancer as well. And I took a journey that I didn't want to take. But in that journey, I found myself. And I opened a family childcare, Early Foundations Family Childcare Home, in which I was able to continue to work as a high school teacher, teaching a CDA class. And while they graduated with their high school diplomas, they also got this credential that will allow them to work in the child care program as a, not as a certified educator, but knowing the foundations of child care principles to work with very young children. I literally had one child while I was working as a high school teacher and paying that teacher out of my paycheck to keep my business flowing, who happened to be my daughter, who graduated from high school early, but wasn't ready to move on to her next steps. So mama opened up the family child care, and she was the teacher. Little did I know, breast cancer had me to retire early. And I then came home with her and kept the family child care running. And my passion has always been lying in empowering child care owners and directors to cultivate high quality programming for young children, but also while achieving profitability. I think for so long, as I started in child care, it was this kind of gloomy cloud over you if you made a profit in your child care because it was with young children. And I was like, well, guess what? If you broke, busted, and disgusted, you can't invest in the children, right? So during the pandemic, my family child care was closed, like all other child cares. And I was like, well, I got, I had one kid that was allowed because their parent worked as an EMT, but everything else was shut down, right? So I'm like, okay, I have to learn some strategies here to stay afloat. And so what I learned about y'all was power plays to profits. And profits is more than what we think it is. A lot of people say you have a child care program because you look at the kids and you see dollars. I look at the children and I see a future. And so because I saw a future, I took these power plays and I turned profits into an acronym that will help childcare business owners and directors create an environment where children would thrive and learn while being profitable. So I call it power plays to profits, transforming your early learning business to sustainable success. And it's an ebook. And so what I want to dive into tonight is this right here. In the world of early childhood education, y'all, we all know the immense power that we wield, right? We have power to shape the minds of young people, to create and nurture creativity, and to really lay a foundation for their lifelong learning. But do we recognize the power that we have in our own businesses? We don't take the time to see that. I really want to address the elephant in the room. Running a childcare business is incredibly challenging. It is very difficult. We often struggle between providing high quality, which we know is an investment, and managing the financial aspect of it. So let me introduce you to this paradigm, a shift in your mindset. Profits is not just an acronym. It stands for something. It stands for this: program quality and best practices, retaining talented staff, and recruiting talented staff. Outreach and marketing, financial management, technology, innovative approaches to curriculum, and strong partnerships with families and stakeholders, right? It's not a clever acronym. It's a roadmap to success. And so during the pandemic, I literally implemented this acronym intentionally and on purpose. And it was difficult because I literally had to shift all the negative things that I heard about childcare parents, staff, business owners, and stakeholders. I had to just dump it in the trash can and say, I'm gonna shift my mindset because I can do this. And so what I done, I started with that first P. I said, listen here. I need to aim to provide top-notch education and care for all children coming through my program. And I need to make sure that we're implementing best practices, not cookie cutter, but best practices, really diving deep with the theory of child development principles and evidence-based practices. But I needed to make sure there was a good fit for my children and families that I'm servicing, right? So that's the P. Then I got down to retaining and recruiting talented staff. Listen here. It is the heart of any child care program. It's the staff. It's your team, not just your staff. Staff is so traditional. I'm talking about your team, We gotta dive into strategies for really attracting and retaining the best talent. And it doesn't just take a competitive wage to do that. Educators and caregivers are really the backbone to any of our programs. And so recruiting the best staff means making sure that you set up and you investing in their growth in your program. But then there's the outreach and marketing. Your community and your ideal client needs to know about your excellence. How are you getting them to know where your excellence is at? So effective outreach and marketing helps you to stand out from all the other child cares, right? Because there are a lot of them around. Who is your ideal client? You can't just continue to take in people that are just walking by or driving by. You got to be intentional about who your client is, right? And where are they at so that you can market and reach them, making sure that your program is accessible to them. And then here's the piece. Ready for it? The financial management, y'all. We struggle with that the most. Profit is not a dirty word. But in childcare, we're kind of frowned upon if you say, oh, I scale 6 figures in revenue, but baby, how about I also made 6 figures in profits. My business is profitable. It is nothing wrong with being profitable in your childcare business. We got to get rid of the myth of thinking that it's something wrong with it. Let me tell you, I was profitable. And you know what I was able to do this year when my children graduated from my closing ceremony at our pre-K program? I was able to invest $15,000 to send them to kindergarten at a private academic school and a Catholic school because I was profitable. I was able to make an impact in my community by sending those 2 children to private academic schools to keep the foundation of early childhood education growing in my community for our children. So it's important for us to be profitable. I adopted some sound financial practices. I became a profit-first professional, and I understood how to use my profit to make my business financially stable, sustainable, and profitable. No longer did I have to wait for grants to come to help me make sure that I had the state-of-the-art curriculum to put in front of my children and the technology that they were so deserving of. And next, the I, innovative approaches to curriculum. It's important. How are we able to make the investment of making sure that our children have high quality curriculum that's developmentally age appropriate in the classroom? If we're broke, busted, and disgusted, we can't. We need to make sure that we're exploring innovative ideas for our children. They're counting on us. Staying up to date with innovative teaching methods. It's important. We know there's 12 different learning styles. The professional development and training that comes along with that costs money. The T, technology. We're in a digital world. We're in a digital age. We need to harness technology. We need to make sure that our children are not just texting and using technology for non-educational purposes. Just because they can pick up a cell phone and watch Gracie's Corner, which I happen to love, we need to make sure that when they get technology in their hands, they're using it for growth, personal growth, and soon to be that professional growth. We got to explore technical ideas to enhance our services for efficiency. And last but not least, I always say it's my triangle. You can't have the triangle and disconnect, right? Strong partnerships and with families and stakeholders. Building solid relationships with your families are going to help propel you into your next level for your childcare. Listen, community stakeholders, knowing who your councilmen or your state representatives are. They are in the business of making things happen for your childcare business. We need to learn how to advocate for the needs of our children in our community and to show and share with parents and their families how to get to the right individuals that make the decisions. So we may not have a seat at the table, but we have a line, a knock on the door for the people that's sitting at the table that need our votes to make decisions that impact our children. So yes, we need a supportive network that can boost our program's success. So the call to action is real easy. It's real easy. What I want you to do, I urge you to do, is take the profits acronym, and make it your own. Know about these 7, what I call power plays. These power plays help propel my business in a different atmosphere, I like to say, because not only am I able to be profitable, I'm able to pay my teachers. I'm able to pay for school for my teachers to go back to get college degrees, to get CDAs, and to make sure that they're implementing strategies that work in the classroom so that when you have to make a decision to send your baby, your infant at 6 weeks old, I have had children in my program from 6 weeks old to they're still in my program and they're in the 1st grade. So when parents make an investment in your child care program, you should be a profitable program where you can turn that investment back around and invest in those children going to schools that's going to keep the high quality of education and care that you set the foundation for moving forward. So you're paying it forward. You can't do that if you're not profitable. You can't do that if you're not sustainable. And so I want you to come along. I want you to embrace this change. I want you to know that you can do it. I want you to embrace growth. And most importantly, I want you to embrace the power to transform not only the children in your child care lives and the families that you provide services for, but I want you to embrace the power that you have. Embrace the power that you have to move your business to greatness. Let's start this journey together. For the future of early learning is here and it's now. For the children and for your own sustainable business. To reach out and connect with me, I'm Kimrenee Patterson on Facebook, or Kimrenee Patterson on Facebook. I am Sister Teach 72 on TikTok and Instagram. I have a free ebook for you, the 7 power plays to profits, the acronym that will take you on a deeper dive to implement those practices in your programs, because it's not a one size fit all. But guess what? It is a size just for you. So I want to say good night and thank you for your time. And Sheila, this is absolutely amazing. Thank you so much.
You are amazing. Thank you, Kimrenee. Oh my goodness. Yes. Power plays to profit. Let me tell you. I love how you kept saying broke, busted, and disgusted. Because listen, you got to talk about profit. Why do we have to scrape and be broke, busted, and disgusted when we're serving people, when we have a passion? And I mean, that was nothing but top notch. I love the acronyms. You got to shift the mindset. You have to serve the people to the highest. And yes, we got to talk about that money, baby, because that's where it's at. Thank you very much. Listen, follow Kimrenee, please. Follow her on TikTok and all the social media, and reach out so you can get that ebook also and share it with someone that's in this field as well. I want to thank all the speakers that spoke on tonight. Wonderful. Thank you for being transparent. Thank you for sharing your story. It is awesome. If you're catching this on this podcast, the Sheila C. Hill Show, this is only part 4. So make sure that you go back and check parts 1, 2, and 3 if you have not done so already, because this Spotlight Summit is on fire along with the students. So please follow their journeys. I know that you will be inspired with everything that they have to offer. And at the end of the day, if no one has told you that you are loved, I'm here to tell you that you are loved and highly appreciated. And we need you. We need to hear your voice. We need you here. If you are here, you're here for a purpose. And just know that. Tap in to your purpose of why you're here. So thank you for tuning in to the Sheila C. Hill Show. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's go. Until next time on the Sheila C. Hill Show. Smooches, love, peace, and hair grease.